Friendship is something we as social creatures desire. Even the most introverted of us desire a friend. It's something that we look for throughout our life's journey. Someone who will be there for us when we most need it. For some of us, it takes a while to truly find a real friend that'll be there for them in their hardest times. For others, it's easy, and it's not uncommon to have more than just one of these people in their life. In any case, a friend is something very valuable and something people should hold close. So when 4 years ago, a then unknown channel by the name DanPlan started uploading gaming videos, specifically League of Legends, you can feel that bond between everybody. They were just friends, having a good time with each other. This is where I'd say, but then it all changed. But no, it didn't really. That bond everyone had carried through into the different ventures that the channel took. The center of their videos not being about what game, what story, or what hypothetical they were talking about, but rather the center was them, more specifically their friendship and the bonds they had with one another. So when Steven said he was leaving DanPlan and talked about everything going on behind the scenes, people were surprised to be short, but really more confused on how or why this is happening. For those who may not know the full details, a brief summary is that Steven is parting ways with DanPlan, but more specifically Dan himself, due to disagreements about not only his and other members' wages, but also how he as a person was overall being treated by Dan. Dan, after a week, has not yet responded, so we still don't know his side of the story. But this isn't a video about why Dan is bad, or why Steven made the situation worse, or any of the other things currently being argued among the fan base right now. This video is about what comes next, or at least how to move forward from here. In a Q&A live stream on Steven's channel, Actually Steven, he answered many of the questions fans had about the whole situation, ranging from will he come back to who else is being affected. And though he would be making a lot of statements since it was a 2-hour live stream, some of the inconsistencies in what he was saying shows that, well, it's hard to just let it all go. This is in no way an attack on Steven. It's really more of a way to show that even though he says it doesn't bother him that much, or that he distanced himself from it all, he's still hoping things can work out. This is a normal response, as Steven stated himself that he and Dan have been friends since middle school, which is about 9 to 11 years of knowing each other. It would be hard for anyone to simply walk away from a friendship like that. So, even if his statements sound contradictory at times, such as him wanting to talk to Dan and not caring if Dan apologizes, you can easily just look at it as someone who's been deeply hurt by the fact that they don't feel valued by their friends, so they have to put up a wall in a sense to not show them that weakness. And that's not to say Dan doesn't feel the same way. At this point, it's hard to say how Dan's thinking for 2 reasons. One, he hasn't said anything on the matter. Whether that's to save face or just avoid the whole ordeal publicly, no one can really be sure, and it would be unfair to assume anything. The other reason is that I'm not Steven, Hosa, Jay, or anyone else that is or was friends with Dan, and neither are you. I can't sit here and tell you how Dan is feeling, but I can at least say, or rather hope I can say, that he does care. When people are met with sudden success, very rarely do the people who greet it at the door know what trouble it will cause. It's obvious that Dan was overcome with the greed that comes with massive success. Even Steven admitted that at first he partially didn't want to leave due to the fame. It's a common reaction to success. However, that greed can lead to some severe consequences since you'll eventually get blinded by it. And I feel that's what happened. It would be crazy to assume that Dan woke up one day and saw his longtime friend as nothing more than an asset. So if Dan really was the puppeteer to the marionette that is the DanPlan channel, he views the success they've met as his own doing, rather than the efforts of everyone involved. So when Steven was asking for more money and stating how he is integral to DanPlan's success, Dan, rather than viewing it as a simple call of equality, instead viewed it as Steven trying to take something away that Dan feels he did himself. That's the funny thing about success. When you lose sight of how you got there, you lose sight of what's really important. In this case, what was really important was their friendship. and Dan simply lost sight of that. Like I said, I have no way of knowing if this is what really happened, but I think something we all forget when we see celebrities is that they're people too. People get too caught up on what happened that they don't try to understand why or even how it came to be like that in the first place. This is in no way excusing anything said or any actions taken by Dan, but it's really more of an attempt to at least shine a spotlight on why this could have happened. Now, with all this being said, I think it's important to look at where to go from here and what should probably happen. So I'm going to end it with this. Dan, Steven, Hosa, if by some miracle you or anybody from DanPlan sees this, this is what everyone really wants to have happen. Even if Steven doesn't come back on a DanPlan and you move on without him or you replace him, whatever you do, people will be okay with it, as long as you talk. Even though I'm sure many people want Steven to come back and stay on the channel, I think I can speak for mostly everyone and say they would rather have you be friends again, or at the very least, talk and work together to make everything right. Your friendship is what brought people to your channel. And let's say Steven did come back just to please the fans, but not everything was resolved, they'll know. What people really want to have happen is just for you guys to be friends or work out your differences. Even if Steven doesn't come back afterwards, people will be okay with it since they'll have that peace of mind that, yeah, there was a bump in the road, but it's fixed. That honestly is the best choice of action. Your friendship means a lot, not just to each other, but to millions of other people. At the end of the day, whatever happens isn't up to the audience, but to you. As some random guy on the internet, I'll just say that I don't think sacrificing a almost lifelong friendship is worth the fame that might come with it. Anyways, thanks for watching. There's really not much else to say except I hope things can work out and when the dust settles, everyone can be friends again, or at the very least, the situation can be resolved. As for a quick update, the video that was supposed to go up Saturday was claimed, and I don't really know what to do, so I'll let you know what happens with that. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one.